Hello, my dear students. This is Dr. Amita Telang, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science, Gurukul Mahila Mahavidyalaya, Raipur. In the subject Operating System, today we will start the topic Historical View of Operating System. Historically, operating systems have been tightly related to the computer architecture. It is good idea to study the history of OS from the architecture of the computer on which they run. Operating systems have evolved through a number of distinct phases or generations, which corresponds roughly to the decades. So, early computers, as we all know this thing, that they were physically enormous machines run from a console. The programmer, who was also the operator of the computer system, would write a program and then would operate the program directly from the operator's console. First, the program would be loaded into memory from the program directly. The front panel switches from paper tape or from punched card. Then the appropriate buttons would be pushed to set the starting address and to start the execution of program. As the program ran, the programmer or operator could monitor its execution by the display lights on the console. If errors were discovered, the programmer could halt the program, examine the content of memory and registers, and debug the program directly from the console. And the output was printed or punched onto paper tape or card for later printing. The earliest electronic digital computers had no operating systems. We all know this thing. So, in these computer systems, machines of the time were so primitive that programs were often entered one bit at time at row of mechanical switches, and programming languages were unknown here and operating system were unheard of. So in this era, this is also called the first generation, and the era begin from the 1940s. So here operating system does not exist at the time. Went on additional software and hardware were developed. Card readers, line printers, and magnetic tape become commonplace. Assembler, loader, and linkers were designed to ease the programming task. Libraries of common functions were created. Common functions could then be copied into a new program without having to be written again, providing software reusability. This is the era of 1950s, also called second generation. So by the early 1950s, the routine had improved somewhat with the introduction of punch cards. We will discuss these cards in our further subtopics. The General Motor Research Laboratories implemented the first operating system in early 1950s for their IBM 701. The system of the 50s generally ran one job at a time. These were called single stream batch processing systems because programs and data were submitted in groups or batches. A special subroutine called a device driver was written for each I/O device. A device driver knows how the buffers, flags, registers, control bits, and status bits for a particular device should be used. A simple task might involve complex sequences of device specific operations. Rather than writing the necessary code every time, the device driver was simply used from the library. After some later time, compilers of Fortran, COBOL, and other languages appeared, making the programming task much easier, but the operation of computer more complex. To prepare a Fortran program for execution, there were many steps to follow, like first loading the Fortran compiler tape, second running the compiler, then unloading the compiler tape, loading the assembler tape, then running the assembler, unloading the assembler, then loading the object program, and then running the object program. So this is the whole process to prepare a Fortran program. And if the error occurred during any steps, the programmer operator might have to start over the beginning. So here is a significant amount of time setup could be involved in running of a job. The job setup time was a real problem here in this era. This is also called the third generation, or it is the era of 1960s. The system of this era were also batch processing system, but they were able to take better advantages of computer resources by running several jobs at a time. So operating systems designers developed the concept of multi-programming, in which several jobs are in main memory at once. A processor is switched from job to job as needed to keep several jobs advancing while keeping the peripheral devices in use. Jobs with similar needs were bunched together and run through the computer as a group to reduce setup time. For example, the operator received on Fortran job, COBOL job, and another Fortran job. So if she ran them in that order, setup time will be more. If she ran two Fortran program in batch, setup time could be reduced. As I told you before, that now here multi-programming concept is also introduced, and here we are going to prepare, here they are going to prepare batches of same type of programs. But there will be still problems when a job operator could have noticed that it stopped, determining why it stopped, dump memory and register, load the appropriate device with the next job, and restart the computer. So during this transition from one job to the next job, the CPU set idle. On the system with no multi-programming, when the current job paused to wait for other IO operation to complete, the CPU simply sat idle until the IO finished. So here multi-programming was not introduced. Here only multiple batches were executed in the system. So the solution was that evolved to partition memory into several pieces with a different job in each partition. While one job was waiting for IO to complete, another job could be used the CPU. Another major feature of this operating system was the technique that is called spooling. In spooling, a high speed device like a disk interposed between a running program and a low speed device involved with the program in input output. Instead of writing directly to a printer, for example, outputs are written to disk. Programs can run to completion faster, and other programs can be initiated sooner. When the printer becomes available, the outputs may be printed. So another feature in this era it was present here was time sharing technique, a variant of multi-programming technique in which each user has an online terminal. Because the user is present and interacting with the computer system must respond quickly to user's request, otherwise user productivity could suffer. So this era of computer was suffered from many kinds of difficulties, but it is also very advantageous era in respect of operating system, because operating system here is going to be advanced. From here operating systems are going to advance. So here the one problem that occurred is is the idle time. CPU idle time means CPU is doing nothing. To overcome this idle time, people developed automatic job sequencing. With this technique, the first rudimentary operating system were created. A small program called resident program was created to transfer control automatically from one job to the next. The resident monitor is always in memory. You can see in the diagram what is this resident monitor. You can see this memory layout here. You can see user program area, control language interpreter, job sequencing, device drivers, interrupt processing. So here these four things you can see: interrupt processing, device driver, job sequencing. This is called monitor, resident monitor, which we are discussing. Some later time control cards were introduced which contained directives to the resident monitor indicating the program to run. For example, a normal user program might require one of three programs to run: the Fortran compiler, the assembler, the user program. We could use separate control card for each of them. You can see here in the screen that there are some labels that are preceded by dollar sign, dollar $FTM. It is a control name, it is the name of a control card. It executes the Fortran compiler. $ASM execute the assembler, $RUN execute the user program. These cards tell the resident monitor which program to run. You can see here various kinds of job cards are control cards are available here to perform a program's execution. So these cards are used in a simple batch system. Batch system work fairly well. The resident monitor provide automatic job sequencing as indicating by the control card. When a control card indicates that a program is to be run, the monitor loads the program into memory and transfer control to it. When the program completes, it transfers control back to monitor, which reads the next control card, loads the appropriate program, and so on. So this cycle is repeated until all control cards are interpreted for the job. Then the monitor automatically continues with the next job. The switch to batch system with automatic job sequencing, it was made to improve performance. The problem was that humans are considerably slower than the computer, and consequently it is desirable to replace human operation by operating system software. Automatic job sequencing eliminates the need of human setup time and job sequencing. Slow card readers and line printers were replaced with magnetic tape unit rather than have the CPU read directly from the card. However, the cards were first copied onto a magnetic tape. Then the tape was sufficient full, it was taken down and carried over to the computer, and when the card was needed for input to a program, the equivalent record was read from the tape. Similarly, the output was returned to the tape and content of the tape would be printed later. The card reader and line printer were operated offline rather than by the main computer. You can see in the figure that how it all work. Operation of IO devices online and offline. Online, you can see here there is card reader, there are CPU and line printer. This is the sequence of process, and if it is working offline, then card reader, tape drive, CPU, then CPU, tape drive and line printer. This is the sequence for the whole process. Although offline preparation of jobs continued for some time, it was quickly replaced in most systems. The problem with tape systems was that the card reader would write onto one end of the tape while the CPU read from the other. The entire tape had to be written before it was rewound and read. Because tapes are by nature sequential access devices, disk system eliminates this problem by being random access devices. So here in this point we can see that now tapes were replaced by disk, and in a disk system cards are read directly from the card reader onto the disk. Location of card images is recorded in a table kept by OS. And when a job is executed in OS, it satisfies its request for card reader input by reading from the disk. Similarly, when the job requests the printer to output a line, that line is copied into a system buffer and is returned to the disk. And when the job is complete, the output is actually printed. This form of processing, it is called spooling, as I discussed it above. So after this point, we can say here that history of operating system is started from the non-operating system devices where there were no operating systems, and by coming to fourth generation with the development of LSI circuits, chips, operating systems entered in the personal computer and the workstation age. Microprocessor technology evolved to the point that it became possible to build desktop computers as powerful as mainframe of the 70s. Two operating systems have dominated the personal computer scene, that are MS-DOS written by Microsoft Inc. for the IBM PC, and other machines using the Intel 8088 CPU and its successors, and Unix, which is dominant on the large personal computers using the Motorola 6899 CPU family. In our next class, we will see further topics of operating systems. Thank you very much.